Hi, and welcome to Heaven. This is Raquel Alves,
Julia Kivilda.
and we are back from a very unexpected hiatus.
Oh
This was
my
not
God. It's been a long time, and I feel like a lifetime happened in that month that we haven't recorded anything.
Yeah, basically February was not the month for us in either our personal lives, but we're back, still alive. How are you doing, Julia? It's been so long.
I'm all right, I'm surviving. Not thriving, but surviving. I've been made redundant from my 9 to 5 job, and you know how I always complain, and I'm like, I wish they would just fire me. Well, I didn't. I take back everything that I said. It's actually really stressful. Don't think that. It's always better to quit yourself, I think. But it was my resolution for 2025 to quit my job, but instead my job quit me, so I guess I manifested a bit too hard. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see where things go. Now I have, all the time in the world to be doing other projects and things that I've been putting off for ages. So maybe something good will come out of it. We'll see.
Definitely use this time for like a positive and like
I'm
your
trying, but you know,
I think it's gonna be great to like focus more on your projects and stuff. Like my month has been so stressful. Like I don't even want to talk about it. Like I just want to forget. And it was my birthday. Like I'm
I
25.
know it was your birthday month, and come on.
And come on, like what a beginning to my 25 year.
It's
Like,
okay. You'll be back. We'll be reunited in 2 weeks, so we'll celebrate and we'll make up for it.
the most exciting thing is that yeah, girl right here now is a driver. She got her driving license, y'all.
That's true. That's true. This all happened in this amount of time, which is crazy.
No. But hey, we are here today though. We reunited after a whole month to
Yeah.
talk to you about selfie sticks.
More importantly, the rise and fall of the selfie stick.
We're gonna have a whole throwback in time to the beginnings of social media and the whole craze around selfies and the infamous selfie stick.
Yeah. Bear in mind, we had this idea the last time we saw each other in person, which was in like January. So we've been
Yeah.
so we've been brewing on this for a long time. So you may think it's not a serious topic, but it is going to be a very serious discussion.
Yeah, I remember being in your couch and being like, girl, do you remember selfie sticks? And
Yeah, we were
then
both like,
boom.
wait, what happened to the selfie stick?
So yeah, here we are. So where should we start? I think we should start from like the rise. Like where does this came from? Why it became
Yeah,
such a big thing?
exactly.
And where is its origins? So my argument is that this whole thing actually started in the beginning of thousands and then kicked in 2010s.
Yeah.
But I feel like the huge turning point was actually the iPhone 4.
Yeah, for sure. Like the first iPhone that you could take like selfies with and stuff.
Exactly. Because we had, for example, the term selfie was used like in 2002, and then you had this like extendable stick that was out in 2003, and then you had MySpace, which was like one of the first photo sharing. People would take a lot those mirror selfies with their digital cameras.
Yeah.
However, there was no selfie craze back then,
Yeah,
and
there was like no concept of selfie as like
Mhm.
a thing that people would do. Like obviously people would want to take pictures of themselves and their friends, like together with your friends. So we would like take pictures. I remember like taking pictures with my shitty little Nokia, phone with my friends, like with the back camera, hoping that I will catch like an angle of my face because I had no clue where I was pointing it. Um,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
remember like me and my family we joke about it because when I went to Disneyland for the first time, I took my first selfie without knowing it was a selfie. And it's basically I'm 7 years old and it's like back with like a normal digital camera and it's just like half of my face smiling, a huge flash, being like, "Eh." It's like such
Love
an iconic
it.
photo. My very first selfie ever in my life.
We've come a long way since then. But yeah, that's very true. And then the whole thing kind of grew super fast with the rise of like social platforms, as you said, like Facebook primarily, I would say, because that's what came after MySpace.
Mhm.
We had like a similar platform in Poland as well, which was called Our Classroom, which was for people to connect with like their old classmates after they leave school. And yeah, and like these platforms kind of started popularizing the idea of taking photos of
Yeah.
yourself.
However, because there was no, because like the phones didn't really take photos, so you still have to do it through your like an actual camera. I think that's why it was not as practical to like take a photo, put it on your computer, upload it to the
Yeah,
platform.
exactly. It would always have to be
A
like,
whole process,
I
yeah.
remember so many times screaming at my dad, where is the like camera cable so I can connect it to like the
Yeah.
PC and like download all the photos back on the computer. But yeah, and then I feel like when Instagram started, I would say that was like the kind of breakthrough in self like expression through photos. I mean, Instagram and actually Tumblr, because Tumblr was also kind of big in that, but I guess Tumblr was more like resharing and posting other stuff that you found online. So I feel like Instagram is the platform that was more like self creating yourself online. It was like the platform that kind of kickstarted everything with that.
Also because this iPhone 4, not only like being already taking photos and having the front camera, which was like very crucial, but it was released in 2010 and Instagram was released in 2010 as well.
There
So
you go. It's
it was
all
like
like
great.
coinciding.
So yeah, you
Exactly.
could literally take a photo and directly upload on Instagram. So not only we had the rise of these new social media, but they were also way more visual because when we think about Facebook, it was like a kind of mixed media. You could
Yeah.
like write, you could take photos, blah blah, but Instagram was mostly a visual platform. And
Yeah, Instagram used to be basically like a photo blog because like in the early days of Instagram that a lot of people probably don't even remember because we're
Mhm.
old. But there used to be like no ads, no brands. It would just be you and your friends posting on Instagram, and you could see who liked what and like who
Yes,
commented on what and who followed
you
other
could check anyone's
people.
activity. Yes.
Honestly, that was such a moment that like the page where you could just like
I think it
talk.
was like
Oh,
friends activity or something like that.
yeah, it was crazy, crazy, crazy times. But yeah, anyways, what I was kind of going to is that it's like the first kind of tool of creating your persona online and your self-expression and kind of what kickstarted the rise of individualism in social media. Because if you think about it, I mean, the definition of social media is it being social, you connecting with others and you making like relationships with others online or like maintaining your physical relationships that you are hard to maintain in a physical space, facilitating them online. Whereas I think like with the rise of Instagram, it kind of started to shift into like using social media as your own personal tool for portraying yourself online and presenting it to others more like as a creator and as the medium rather than like you connecting with others but on like a personal level, if you know what I mean.
No, definitely. And I think that it really became a boom in the beginning of 2010s because you had Instagram and then you had Snapchat in 2011, which is like a year
Snapchat
after.
came in 2011. What?
Yeah. And you had Vine who came in 2013. And like these three, Instagram, Snapchat, and Vine, really created this boom of like self content because even Vine, a lot of the videos is like filming yourself. So all of this is like you.
TikTok could never, honestly.
I know, but it became such a it was so exciting, I think, at the time with like all these new apps coming through, technically all for different things. And the way for connection with others, as you're saying, was by filming and taking photos of yourself. We were connecting
Exactly.
through our individual perceptions almost. So it's actually very interesting. I saw this person saying, kind of like defending the fact that she would love to take selfies. Like this is an article from like 2014 or whatever. And it goes, I can honestly say my postings of myself are efforts of sharing and connecting with others, which I thought this really actually resumed the thought process of people back then that like literally all the major social platforms are connecting points by sharing pictures of
Yeah,
yours. So
exactly.
that's truly how people like really connected is by showing themselves to others, which is kind of weird, but also like very exciting at the moment. And it was so new. Like this was not happening before. This was like very new and exciting times. And it reminded me when I was searching, I was like, do you remember the let me take a selfie music?
Oh my God, no. Why would you why would you put that back in my head?
I just want to say
Oh,
that let me take a selfie walked, so I'm looking for a man in finance could run.
let me take a selfie. Oh my God. This is bringing so many memories.
But honestly, you should rewatch it. Like I rewatched it specifically for this episode, and it's such a period piece. But the song I think was released in 2014, which is already like reaching a bit of a peak.
Yeah.
But you can kind of see the music video is basically like people like in a club and that girl like gossiping and stuff, saying like all bad things. First, let me take a selfie, mixed with a bunch of selfies,
Yeah.
and it mix of normal people that you don't know who they are that post and their selfies from like Instagram and from Snapchat. And you have also mix of them already like Vine personalities, like, oh, I actually
Yeah.
know this person. I've
If
seen this
you
before.
think about it, that's like a very TikTok type of like trend, to be honest.
True. And but also you would have mix of photos of like Ariana Grande posting a photo of with the dog filter on Instagram. Like that would never happen today. And I was like, this is such a period piece. I can't. But it was actually great to see the amount of selfies that people used to take and how it was such a big boom. It was such like a crazy time that like the Oxford Dictionary declared selfie as the word of the year for 2013.
Yeah, I remember seeing this video the other day, which was like, oh, when like your child asks you to see like their baby pictures, but you grew up in like 2012s, and it's
Mhm.
like this mom with a baby, and she's taking like selfies with the baby, and all the pictures that she has of the baby is like selfies with dog filter, and
Oh
like all of
God.
those Snapchat filters of like, the baby with really cute eyes or like butterflies around the head.
Oh my
And I was
God. I
like,
feel so
that
sorry for the
perfectly
generation.
encapsulates like the whole craze of what it was.
It truly does. So with all this like craze around taking selfies, of course, the most famous and infamous gadget came around. That is
Self
this selfie stick.
Yeah, because there's as far as your arm can extend to take a selfie. So what if you want to take a selfie with like 20 other people in it?
Exactly.
Gotta have a selfie stick.
I know. It's actually this kind of concept of like invention was already out and around for like around 10 years, but it only like truly became viral
Exactly.
as the selfie craze because before it was not that needed.
Exactly. And I feel like also the rise of individualism in general because I feel like that time also coincides with, people being more individualistic, like doing more things alone, traveling alone and whatnot, and not being able to have like not having other people with you to take
Mhm.
pictures of you, like not relying on that, not asking strangers to take your photo. You don't have to do that anymore because you have a selfie stick, so you can just take a selfie with like this beautiful palace in the back when you're on holiday in France.
Yeah, and I think in the beginning people were actually quite they it got like a very good reception because
Sure, I had a selfie stick.
you did? I
I
didn't.
did. I did. I remember I
Oh,
went to Thai to visit my brother in Thailand with my parents, and I was like 15 at the time. And like the only thing that I wanted to buy from there, I remember, because like they were not that big of a thing in Poland yet.
mm.
I remember I was like, I want to buy a selfie stick.
Oh
And I
God.
remember we went to this like little market with like tech gadgets and stuff. And I remember I was looking for the perfect selfie stick and I got one. And then I think I used it like 5 times. But
Five
I had
times.
it. But I had it.
Yeah, and people were so excited that like Time magazine named it as the one of the best inventions of 2014, and the Business Insider said it was a must-have holiday gadget.
Yeah, so the question is, what happens? Like you don't really see people now out and about saying,
Yeah,
"Oh, let me just take out my selfie stick." Even if you look online for a selfie stick, everything that pops up is like tripod,
yeah,
which
yeah.
I think is very ironic because most of these tripods are essentially selfie sticks with a function of a tripod. And a lot of them are actually just selfie sticks. It's just kind of been rebranded as a tripod.
But I mean, a selfie stick is actually a tripod,
Exactly.
but it was just named selfie stick because of like the viral of the selfie.
Exactly. And now it's been like rebranded as like a phone holder or like a extendable phone holder or a tripod or whatever you want to call it. But the kind of like concept of the selfie stick has been completely erased. And I think it's very interesting to analyze how that happened. And I don't know if you remember, but there was this time like after the whole boom of the selfie stick of people like falling off cliffs and stuff or like
Oh
trying
yeah.
to take selfies. And I feel like it started to get a very stigmatized reception.
There was a moment where we reached like a peak of this, in terms of like the stages of the selfie stick. And it obviously started getting a lot of backlash and hate. And to be honest, like the majority of articles that I've seen were also very periodical. So I read stuff from like between 2014 and 2016, like nothing else. There was no article mentioning the word selfie and stick
Yeah.
beyond 2016. So there was a lot of like hysterical hate towards the selfie stick and selfie stick users. Also a bit selfie takers, people taking selfies being perceived as like stupid, narcissistic, vain, etc., etc., which was kind of a bit like hating on girls, to be honest, because the people taking the most selfies were obviously young women.
Yeah, that and also Asian tourists in Europe specifically. Also because the selfie stick kind of boomed in Asian countries. And I remember there was a time where people in Europe started viscerally hating on Asian and specifically Chinese tourists abroad for them, like, coming in groups of like 50 people and then each one of them being with their selfie stick. And I remember we're like, oh my God, like what are they doing? Like this is ridiculous. This is like comic. They can't even see anything through all of the selfie sticks. And that kind of coincided with like racial hate on these tourists and like their behaviors in public spaces in general. And I feel like that kind of all got in the mix as well.
Yeah, I think there was like a lot of little things because obviously if something goes that viral and you see it literally everywhere, it starts being annoying and you start like kind of hating it. Although something that I think is quite interesting, besides like all these little things and the huge hate going towards it, I feel like one of the biggest like the ways that I analyze it and one of the biggest backlash is because we've this was such a boom, as we said. So like we've never seen so much of ourselves ever as a human species. And consequently, we also never seen so many people perceiving themselves in public
Mm,
ever before. So you have this like this big online presence, which is sacred or was sacred for a lot of people back then, is now invading our real life spaces. So
yeah,
it
true.
becomes because I would say that when we are consuming online content, we mostly consume it indoors. A lot of people use it on public transports and stuff, but we are mostly consuming content online when we are at home.
Yeah.
And especially at the time, like positioning ourselves in the 2010s. So when you're always consuming this indoors, it's very much an introspective experience. When
Yeah,
you see
for
it
sure.
like, outlandishly displayed outside, you feel almost like an invasion of your own privacy.
Exactly. Like bear in mind at the time, like mobile internet was also not as big of a thing as well. So the only places where you could actually connect online was your like home network, like Wi-Fi and stuff, because especially teenagers and stuff didn't have access to unlimited data, or they would
Yeah,
have you would have 3 GB and you would be like, oh my God, I need to be like really careful. I need to like download all my music because I cannot like listen to it online or whatever because I don't have enough internet on my phone. So I think that's very true what you're saying, that it used to be like a very private thing to do in confines of your own home. And a lot of people even had like drastically different personas online and in person. It could be their escape from the real world. And right now and like back then that's kind of like started bleeding out and now it's completely erased. We're more often like the biggest persona is like our persona online, and then our who we are privately is like a very limited people know who we really are. In a way, I feel like it has kind of like shifted completely, and I think that's very true that people did not respond very well to that at first, and it used to be very stigmatized, which feels very ironic now considering where the internet has taken with TikTok. And you go outside, and especially like I right now live in London, and people record TikToks in front of my doorstep every weekend because I live in a very touristy area. And
yeah.
wherever you go, you see just people recording everywhere, and it's kind of become part of the norm. So that whole hate on the selfie stick at the time, which was kind of a thing very ahead of its time in a way, it's
In-
really ironic.
Yeah, like sometimes like I will be reading these articles and like people are really just so hysterical. Like this is the doom of our society. Using your selfie stick in the Trafalgar Square is a criminal outrage. And I'm like,
It was
okay,
really
you barely know what's coming to you. Like those TikTok kids like dancing in front of statues, like you have no clue what's coming.
I know, to the point that I remember one time, like, because I obviously had my selfie stick and I went on holiday with my parents, and my dad was like, "Oh, take your selfie stick. We bought it for a reason." And I was kind of like, "It's kind of cringe already, Dad." Like, and then they were like, "Oh, let's take a selfie," and I was like, "Okay."
I also think because it started being adopted a lot by families and parents.
Boomers. Yeah,
It's not funny anymore. It's not fun anymore because this is
exactly.
like for the young, cool kids of the internet, and now boomers are coming into it, and you're like,
Maybe
yeah,
not,
no,
you know?
actually. But yeah, even like for example, some advancements in technology, like phones started to have that wide lens, so you
Yeah.
wouldn't have to have a selfie stick.
Yeah, you could just
To
zoom
do it.
out.
Yeah, and I would say with like those clashes between like your private online and public persona, I think like the selfie stick really represented this. I think it represented it like manifested in real life, the boom of the selfie, the boom of like visual social media, and these first clashes that society was kind of feeling, and very fast as well, between the online and the offline, and how like prominent social media were becoming and how prominent like the online was becoming in like our real lives is no longer just a place where the kids go and chat and just like have
Yeah,
fun and
for
do
sure.
whatever. Like it's actually become way more serious and you start seeing that in actual real life. So to me, like the selfie stick almost represented that boom and craze while also being like the max exponent of the social media that
For
is coming like in our lives. And it happened very fast. We're talking about like 3 to 4 years of like explosion. Which is kind of crazy to take into account that right before that, Instagram didn't even existed.
Yeah, no, that's very true. It was like a very exponential rise, and yeah, it kind of like took it's kind of like the predecessor of the whole influencer era that we have now in a way. It's kind of like
Definitely.
what started it all, and it's kind of like what I touched upon before. It's very funny how it's been reframed into like a more professional thing now, like selfie stick as an object, because as I said, right now it's called tripod, or if it doesn't have like the tripod function of like staying on its own, it's like a phone holder or like an extendable for like phone arm or whatever you want to call it, but it's never referred to as like selfie stick, or very, very, very rarely, but it's never like selfie stick as we know it. And I feel like it kind of represents also the commercialization of social media and content in general, because now being on social media is the job for a lot of people, and it's kind of being reframed as something professional, and kind of also changes the way we do content, especially I feel like on Instagram specifically. It's kind of funny how Instagram was the start of all of it, and it completely shifted the way it works, because right now it's kind of like the polished social media, like it's more performative and it's much more curated in a way, as opposed to, for example, TikTok that leans more in like the Vine area of like content. It's much more organic and much more like, oh, whatever, I'm just recording myself crying, or I'm like recording myself being in bed to those random people online. And I feel like in a way that shift of like the selfie stick really represents that change in attitude and a change in the function that social media plays in our life.
Definitely, definitely. That was a very big shift. And I would say that the fall of like the selfie stick is definitely connected to the rise of the influencer content and social media definitely going on the professional route. And as I was saying that like, oh, there's like no articles about this past 2016. What happened in 2016? We have like two major things. One was that Instagram had his rebrand and logo change from that like Polaroids like
Oh yeah, that's right. The whole retro like style
yeah, like
logo.
retro style to like the pink holographic. That happened literally in 2016. So it really marked like a shift, especially for Instagram,
Yeah,
because I think it kind of led that shift from casual amateur content to professional content.
yeah.
And I think all of these things really played for the fall of the selfie stick. Also because I saw this very, very interesting quote, which is kind of like the selfie stick also represented or like initiated the first instances of authenticity debate. because up so far, like social media was obviously very casual.
Yeah.
And we had like the MySpace mirror selfies, we had the duck faces and dog filters of like, Snapchat, very, as I said, like, celebrities using Retrica filters and posting on Instagram. It was all very casual. So then, but then we have now this content creation, like very professional content. And there was this person who said the following. But the selfie stick professionalizes and disembodies these moments. The pictures are too good, and the false but lovely conceit that selfies are casual offhand moment is destroyed when you realize someone carted that stick around with them all day to make sure the moment was a little too perfect. So it's like, did the selfie stick actually mark the loss of the amateur content of early social media?
Who would have
You know,
thought?
yeah, I know, right? And I thought, this is actually very interesting because it collided with the shifts that social media was taking towards a more commercial and economic relevancy in the market.
Yeah.
Because, and when I went like, well, since we're talking about this, I mean, search this. When I went to see when the term influencer started to track attention was in 2016. So I was like,
It's all
oh, start
connected.
connecting. I was like, oh.
Who knew the selfie stick played such a pivotal role in the development of social media as we know it right now?
Literally, but I think it really did, like kind of like behind the scenes, but it really did.
Which like kind of begs the question, why has it been like erased from our memory completely, you know? I feel
I
like
know.
it's very interesting that it kind of
Might grow into a conspiracy theory.
honestly, like what happened? Who banned it? No, but I think it's kind of what we said. It's like reframing this as even more professional, and with all the hate that the selfie stick was getting, it was kind of necessary to rebrand it and reframe it as a tool for professional content creation and something that's not silly and annoying, but something that's polished and it's cool to use it and it makes you better content and it enables it's a professional tool rather than like a silly little gadget.
And if you think about it, like since we're going this professional content creation route, taking a selfie actually in this context looks even more amateurish because in this time period you also start having after like the whole peak and craze of the selfie, you start having like saying, "Oh, taking a selfie is not professional. That's not like a good way
Exactly.
to look." Blah blah blah. And even the algorithms stopped pushing selfie photos.
Yeah,
Like they start to have like a more full figure photo or like.
exactly. And I even remember having that perception of like, oh, if you just take selfies, it's like you have no friends because you have no one to take a picture of you, you know? So
Mhm.
also having the rise of individualism, why like we're still a very individual society in a way, friendships became a commodity as well. So
You
showing
have to show
have
them.
someone, you have people to go out with and people to socialize with and people to take a picture of you, elevated your social status in social media as well. So it all kind of like connects together.
To me, it kind of feels a bit organic but I think it happened all in parallel. So I think the loss of the selfie sticks or like their fall kind of equaled the rise of professional content creation because in itself shut down amateurism
Yeah,
and selfie sticks were more connected to the amateur content of social media in the past. So they didn't really have a place anymore in this new landscape of the social media.
100%
But it also like signified the turning point for that authenticity debate and professional tech accessories being used for
content.
content as well. But I think it's quite interesting because when we thought about, selfie sticks, oh, that's so random, so like period time, like specific of this like time of our lives. But it really does have that important point for the social media history almost. Like that's
Very
actually quite
true.
interesting.
And just to wrap it up, I feel like if you look at social media now, you can kind of see that authenticity is craved. Because if you look at influencers now and the way that brand marketing is going and how social media is shaping up, we can see that shift back again from like very curated, professionally shot, almost editorial like content we're kind of transforming again with the rise of TikTok, etc., into a way more organic content again, and something that feels like you're just talking with your friends, or something that feels like you're just recording for your friends, like your small group of mutuals, and it's all kind of coming back again. And I feel like it shows that we as people, especially now, and how individualistic the society has become and how difficult it is to form new connections in person, we are craving that authenticity, and we're craving that
Relatability.
relatability relatability in others and ourselves as well.
Yeah, although I would say though, in my opinion, that will never be possible. Like it's something that we definitely do crave,
No,
but I
it's
don't
all
think people
performative.
know
Yeah.
what's authentic anymore. I don't think people know what's actually authentic anymore, and they just crave for authenticity in their lives and what they consume. Also because they know that everything is fake, and by knowing it's fake, you can't appreciate it as much. But I'm
Always ending on a positive note in this episode.
I know, but I have to say, like, I think we were discussing this between ourselves, that I think TikTok also it got so big because of, the very short videos and stuff, but I think it's also because comparing to Instagram, for example, which is I think the little queen of social media right now, it's way more chaotic. It's way more ugly. It's way more like whatever you see. And we discuss it a lot, like, oh my God, this is such an ugly interface. But I think it plays way more on the casual side of social media that people have been craving so much. And I'm actually
Exactly.
starting to think that perhaps that amateur side to it is what people like so much about TikTok because they can just put whatever in it. Like I see some influencers that I personally like and I follow on both accounts. The Instagram is way more polished, way like put together, way more curated, stylish,
Exactly.
aesthetic, and way more brand focused with like the tags and stuff. Of course, they also do that on TikTok, but on TikTok is way more chaotic. They have like more like a lot of random videos, like the videos don't match like on a grid, like it's just like a whatever situation. So I think even them that could do this professionally realize that the TikTok is a much more casual platform. And I actually think that perhaps because we're craving that so much, that why it became so popular. But at the same time,
Mm,
it's very fake. It's not truly authentic because people use TikTok majority for their businesses, and it's a much better
exactly.
business
It's
place
like
than actually Instagram is.
It's like you're being authentic because it's favored by the algorithm, but it's like you're acting to be authentic, or like you're curating your content again to appear authentic to others. Obviously, there is like different instances and different creators, but in general, that's kind of the case. It's like you create yourself for what others want to see. But I guess that's like the nature of social media now. It's very difficult to stay true to who you are because at the end of the day, you're just presenting yourself to others, and you're creating a persona of how you want to be perceived or how you think people want to perceive you because you want to get views and you want to monetize it. So yeah.
Yeah, I think to have just a slightly more positive note in the end isn't like the performing that authenticity so authentic of humans to do. Like, why can't we just enjoy that? It is a performance, but it's like enjoyable and still fun. Someone doing a montage of their day is obviously very performative. They're going to film the best parts, but isn't it nice and enjoyable nonetheless? Don't you also
Exactly.
prefer to take photos, even if you don't post them? Prefer to take photos of all the good moments.
Of
Isn't
course.
it okay to just enjoy?
It's not like I'm gonna film myself having, like a bad day and a mental breakdown when I'm just sitting in my pajamas the whole day and slumping and I don't want to do anything. Obviously, we tend to document the things that we like and the things that we enjoy, and so I think it's only natural that you would post those moments on social media. And I don't really get like people being like, oh, you should post more of your bad moments too, or like show that
Hi.
like not everything is so perfect because people compare themselves to you and then they get like upset. But it's like it's on them. You have to understand that social media is only what it is. It's social media. It's not a live broadcast of someone's life.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Exactly. Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times people forget that. And I guess the moral of the story is do whatever you want, post as many selfies as you want. At the end of the day, you should be doing it for yourself and you should be doing it for whatever goals you have, whether it is to like build a community or whether it is to like show off yourself online or whether it is to create a personal diary or whether it is to make money. These are all valid reasons to be on social media. And in the end of the day, you should just do whatever you want to do.
And we have to thank, especially all the content creators, all the girlies thriving, we have to all thank Selfie Sticks for have paved your way.
Exactly. So don't be ashamed of using a
Yeah,
selfie stick.
yeah,
Call it
let's
for what it is. Bring back the selfie stick. Okay, maybe not, but
no, wait, no, sorry.
maybe not. But
God.
let's like I feel like in general, speaking about like broader picture and not selfie sticks in general, like let's just stop stigmatizing things like that in general.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're all chronically online, but it's not hot to be that way in real life.
Exactly. So let's just accept who we are, you know?
Let's just accept that we are all a bunch of narcissistic people.
Exactly. Let's love ourselves and love others and stop hating on anything, including selfie sticks. And the world is going to be a better place.
And that's our live, laugh, love message of the day in spirit of 2014. Thank you so much
Exactly.
for listening.
Look at life through the Retrica filter. That's
Sure.
what I have to say.
Well, we hope to be back soon and not within another month, but
Yes.
love,
No
let's see.
promises are made, but you know.
But yeah, thank you for listening and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.